Hello everyone, welcome back to Be the Whole You. My name is Gulveg. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Leo, January 25th of 2024. This is the first full moon of this new year, and 2024 in general is promising to be a very potent and powerful, even transformative year. And this full moon definitely keeps that promise. So the full moon in Leo is at 5 degrees, and it is in direct opposition to the sun that's in Aquarius at 5 degrees. And the sun represents our persona, our identity, and the moon represents our emotions and our subconscious self. And on top of that, we also have the planet Pluto. And the planet Pluto is conjunct the sun. The planet Pluto is associated with death and rebirth, transformation. And when two planets are conjunct, those two energies are intertwined. It means like more or less those two planets are on top of one another. And so the planet Pluto has just changed signs. It changed signs on January 20th, 21st, depending on where in the world you happen to reside. And when Pluto changes signs, it's a really big deal. It last changed signs in 2008. And so it moves quite slowly. And that's probably a good thing because its influence is very powerful. And so as it's moved from Aquarius, or not, moved from Capricorn into Aquarius, it's now at 0 degrees. And when something's at 0 degrees, 0 is the number of the cosmic egg. And so the cosmic egg is considered to be like this, the vessel of gestation, of where almost like the great void, where anything could be manifested depending on what it is that you plant in this egg. And so we have Pluto that went from Capricorn into Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about change. It's about revolution. It's about evolution. It's about technology and advancement. It's also about social justice and the greater good. And so we have Pluto that moved into Aquarius, and then we have the sun that is in Aquarius. And these two planets are now meeting, and they're in opposition to how we feel. So there is a decision that needs to be made. Many of us will either feel that we're either at a crossroads, or we will feel that we have met a milestone to perhaps a change that we've already made a decision on. If there is any changes that we are resisting, choices that we're either anxious to make or perhaps don't really want to have to make, this full moon will definitely put us in a position where it's time to make a decision. It's time, we're at the crossroads. It's time to either go left, right, or because if we try to barrel ahead, we might end up making things a little bit more difficult for ourselves. In addition to this opposition here, we also have the Jupiter that is squaring off both of these. Jupiter's in Taurus at 6 degrees, and it's squaring the moon that, like I said, is in Leo, and then it's also squaring the sun. What's also very interesting is Leo, the sign of Leo, is associated with the sun. It's associated with our persona, our identity, our ego, which are all the same thing. So Jupiter expands anything that it touches. So the changes that are needing to be made, what comes to me when I took a look at this alignment was Jupiter is acting almost like a magnifying glass. So if there have been reasons that we haven't made certain changes or had taken certain decisions because of uncertainty, this potentially could create more clarity so that we have more certainty as to what the right decision is. The other thing, though, that Jupiter could do is that depending on what aspect of your life this alignment is touching the most, because some people will find that the changes that are needing to be made are more personal, and for others, it's going to be more public or more professional oriented. And so, depending on the nature of the change for you, will probably indicate how many feelings come up around that. For some, it may be more pragmatic, more about practical needs. And for others, the changes are going to be a little bit more personal and might touch a little bit more, may evoke more of an emotional response. So Jupiter could expand that emotional response. So if you're finding that around this full moon that you're feeling very emotional, I would definitely pause on making any decisions for a few days. And we're going to talk about why here in a second, because by the 28th, any decisions that we're making based on the clarity of this full moon will definitely pay off in dividends. I'll tell you that in a second. But I want to back up for a second because I feel like the significance of the full moon being in Leo, squaring off the sun, which the sun rules Leo, and being in Aquarius, the sun is in Aquarius, that is all about change and evolution, that is then conjunct with Pluto. This definitely has a element to it to where whatever changes it is that we are being asked to make on a practical front, whether it's to our home or health, finances, career, whatever it might be, this practical change is requiring a change in how we feel about ourselves or how we identify ourselves. And this is a really, really big deal. And it's a really big deal because egos don't typically like to change. And especially for like in the spiritual community, ego tends to get a little bit of a bad rep. And I want to take a moment to really clarify this ego thing because it's so important as far as how our understanding of ego, how it might affect how we utilize this lunar energy. Ego is a vessel for our consciousness. Without ego, we wouldn't be functional in this physical world. Without ego, we wouldn't have any sense of self. We would have no identity. We wouldn't have our own opinions, perceptions, or thoughts. All of that is part of ego, and none of that is bad. In fact, your persona, our identities, are created so that source, spirit, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, has a particular framework or flavor to experience. So your persona is sacred and your persona is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. It's absolutely necessary. The problem with it is that most of us over-identify with all of that. We think that that's what we are. But what we are is what's behind that. So an object cannot witness itself. You cannot see your face unless you have a reflection, unless you have something outside of yourself reflecting back. That is a rule of the universe. An object cannot witness itself. So the very fact that you're able to witness your thoughts, able to see your emotions, indicates that those experiences are not what you are. What you are is the witness that is witnessing all of that, that's watching all of that. It's called the witness consciousness. And it's what we experience in meditation, and during meditations, especially where we are focusing on just witnessing the thoughts and the experiences. We don't know what the witness is because that's what we are. And because we're the witness, we're not able to see it. It's essentially like in our blind spot. Just like you can't see your own face without a reflection, we can't see the witness consciousness because we don't have a reflection for it. Well, we do, but it's the ego. And then we think the reflection is who and what we really are. So because of this over-identification with the ego, we tend to very much resist having it change. we very much resist allowing aspects of it to fall off, to die off. And this is what Pluto, this is the gift that it is presenting us. It's if on one hand we're ready for the change and we're okay with the temporary discomfort that it will require for the long-term benefits, then this full moon is going to feel like a godsend. If though we are resisting letting go of how we identify ourselves, or what means what about ourselves. For example, who am I without this relationship? Or what am I if I'm not a certain title for my job, or without the certain acronyms behind my name? You know, those type of identifications, if we're not ready to let those external factors that define us, if we're not willing to let those things go, then this full moon may feel very hard. So it really comes down to who and what you want to be in order to create the kind of future that you want and deserve. This full moon is not asking us, what do you want? It's asking you, who do you want to be? And if we're able to answer those questions authentically, truthfully, and with compassion for ourselves and compassion for that very necessary, although sometimes inconvenient ego, then we will end up in the future with a much more authentic, compassionate, and peaceful future. So that's why this particular full moon is so beautiful and transformative. But it comes down to a decision. What are you willing to let go of in order to step into that new future? The word sacrifice in Latin means to make sacred. So, or at least that's what I was told. I could be wrong. But I really like that thought because it rings true to me. And so these things that we let go of, it's not like we're asking ourselves to amputate a part of ourselves as though, you know, it's not needed anymore. But it's more about allowing it to rest, laying it down. And that's what I mean with compassion, and saying that this part doesn't need to be active right now. So if, for example, what it is that you know you're being asked to let go of is a relationship, we don't have to let go of it with anger. And it doesn't have to be full of contempt or resentment, shame, guilt, any of the ugliness that's associated with a human experience. But we can let it go with compassion and just say, that doesn't have to be an active story in my future anymore. That doesn't have to be an active experience in my future anymore. This is really an egoic makeover, the opportunity for one. We get to redefine who and what we are. It is an incredibly freeing full moon. And if the process and the invitation that this full moon is providing leaves you very anxious or scared or sad or grieving, allow yourself some time and some room to process those emotions, because as of the 28th, we have a kite that is coming up. So I promised you that I would tell you about this. So the full moon is on the 25th. A few days later, we have the moon that's in Virgo at 13 degrees, and it is in a harmonious alignment with Venus in Capricorn at 8 degrees, Saturn in Pisces at 6 degrees, and Jupiter in Taurus at 6 degrees, as well as Mars and Mercury that are conjunct at 18 and 19 degrees in Capricorn. So a kite, when we see that alignment, it's like a harmonious alignment on steroids, that if we take advantage of that, everything will just lift off. So the full moon, I see this alignment as getting ready, getting prepared for the heights of what is possible for us to manifest. That if we allow ourselves to let go of some of this heaviness that may have been dragging us down, anchoring us to a point where it's no longer grounding, calming, centering, it's now more it's it's stagnant, it's stale, it's heavy. If we can let that go, those aspects that we know are holding us back, then the kite a few days later, we will be able to access that energy and take off. So the decision that is ahead of us, for some of us, may be difficult, but if we have the courage and to do the thing, we will be paid back in dividends. Yes, there is a cost. Yes, there is a sacrifice. And yet what will come back to you in return is going to be so much greater than anything that you felt that you may have lost as a result of shedding that weight to move on. So to know what it is that needs to be let go of, because Leo is very like boisterous and fun and such, the other thing that really came to me was that it's really important for us to have discernment between frivolous pleasure that's temporary and long-term joy. Joy isn't just happiness. Joy is the gratitude for life that can help us get through challenges, that makes it worthwhile even when it's tough. So what can really help us making these decisions and deciding whether or not certain discomforts are worth it is having the discernment of, is this temporary pleasure, or even the temporary discomfort, or is it the decision that I need to make? Is it going to bring me to joy? So am I sacrificing joy for a temporary comfort? That's really what it comes down to. So let's take a peek at the cards and let's see what they may have to say about that. So join me in setting the intention that whatever part of this reading that is most pertinent to you and the situation or situations that you are dealing with right now, set the intention that whatever part of this is most pertinent to you will be very clear, will be revealed. All right, and help me set the intention. What do we need to know most or do most concerning the full moon in Leo, January 25th, 2024? Let's serve our best and highest good. Get clarity on the first card, please. All right, so the very first card, I just want to have a disclaimer that this card is about all these cards are about what they represent, obviously. But this particular card makes people nervous, so I'm going to give a disclaimer. It's really about addictions and self-imposed prisons, and that is the devil. A lot of folks get a little nervous about this one, but the thing that is really helpful to know about this card is the folks that have the shackles on, those shackles are on super light. They could just slide them off whenever they want. But these folks don't know that. The devil has them believing that they're trapped and that they're in eternal servitude. And so what is causing that, or what's causing us to be stuck or, I guess, addicted to this situation or whatever this external circumstances that it represents for you, is a stubborn mind. The King of Swords reversed is about stubborn, it's about authoritarian. The other thing that's coming to my mind is that for some folks who are watching this, that the King of Swords, this might actually be representing a person that represents the devil for you. It's a person who's manipulated you or is in a place of some sort of authority that has you believing that you're stuck. So it could be a boss, could be a manipulative, like high, like need or demanding friend or family member, something of that nature. So for some of us, this might actually be a person. For others, it's more of an internal mindset where we're the ones that have told ourselves that this is the way it has to be. So when I saw the devil, that's why I asked for clarity. I'm like, what is it? What is the essence for most of us that this card represents? What is it that's keeping us stuck? And so these cards are in reverse because they are representing the imbalances that the devil card is representing. And here we have the Lover's card reversed. So secrets and lies, and within a relationship. So know that whatever information that you have been given I think for some of us, this is past relationships that have created a trauma or some sort of wound that was around betrayal and lies. And know that the betrayal and the lies, they had nothing to do with you. And that for you, this might be the egoic transformation is that something somebody did in the past made us believe that it had some sort of indication on like how worthy you are, how lovable you are. It perhaps made you start questioning yourself, not being able to trust your own discernment, things of that nature. So, and this had to do with a disappointment as far as reciprocation. So we didn't get our fair share. There was a lack of generosity. It was take, 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 take. And then that made us question ourselves. There was a hesitancy, the Fool card reversed. So the summary card around this as to what is shifting around this is that we are being invited to lay to rest that old story. Not identifying as a victim does not mean that we have to deny that at some point in time we were in a victim role, that we were victimized. We don't have to keep identifying that with that in order to validate that experience. You know, so there is an opportunity here to integrate that experience, to understand and to perhaps even grieve a loss that is related to that. I'm getting ringing my ears, so I think there's a lot of grief around this letting go. And to be able to integrate that as lessons and as experience, and then be open to moving forward with a attitude of curiosity. The cards and the stars, they're not telling us that we have to like gaslight ourselves into unrealistic optimism. You know, that's like sometimes like the way that the pendulum swings, or it's like, yeah, everything's going to be great. And then in the back of your mind, you're not really believing it because you feel like you're selling yourself. Well, we don't have to go there either. It's just more of an attitude of curiosity of what might it be like if that was no longer true for my future? What might it feel like if I put myself out there? And if something bad did happen, would the consequences of that be really as bad as what I imagine it to be? The Eight of Wands are saying no. The Eight of Wands is about movement. It's about gusto. It's about personal power. It's also about travel. For somebody out there, traveling may be a really good way to get a new perspective, to clear your head. That many of the fears, because know that the Devil card is about illusions. It is about fears and anxieties and illusions, either that are self-imposed or something that's been imposed from an external source, or a combination thereof. So whatever it is that we've experienced from our past that has caused us to have certain beliefs as to what's realistic, what's available, or beliefs about ourselves or our own capabilities, that it's not representative of the whole truth. That the truth is actually much more empowering than what we think it is. It doesn't mean that it's easy, and it doesn't mean that it has to be all, you know, unicorns and glitter dust, but it means that it is available, that what it is that you want wants you in return. The only thing that's going to require is that we take off the shackles, that's interesting, that we take off the shackles caused by the shadows that keep us stuck in a place of not believing in ourselves, not believing in our own capabilities. And the thing that's coming to me is being inundated by the darkness in the world in general. That there are lights, there's light in between these pockets of darkness, and that when you let yourself shine and you have that attitude of curiosity, that your light is going to be guided to the lights that can align with you. So find the light, my friends. It's Leo. Leo is about the sun. It's about self-esteem. It's about gusto. It's about charisma. And it's about having fun. So connect with your joy. Connect with what it is that gives you pleasure. And ask yourself, who do you need to... What aspects, what characteristics do you need to embody the most in order to invite more of that joy? Yeah, it's a good one, folks. It's such a purifying force to be opening up the rest of 2024 with. And I can't wait to hear some of your feedback and what your experiences are over the next couple weeks. And I'll see you in a couple weeks when we're going to take a look at the new moon. And we'll see what that has to offer. Bye-bye.